Hello and welcome to the next batch in this collection. There might be another 2 videos out of this probably. I think I got 2 more, maybe 3. There's so many fucking movies to get through. But I thought this time, all but one movie, I'm going to talk about some of the horror stuff that I picked up over the last while. Now there is a box set that I have, but I'm going to do a box sets video after this, so it'll be included in that rather than put it in here and shortening the amount of box sets I have in that video. But I want to talk about a bunch of the horror shit I got over between... See, all this is from October until now, basically. Anything that's like the German stuff, all this stuff, it's all coming from around that time. So there was a lot of horror on sale in October, so I picked up a shitload of it. And I'm going to start with, obviously, the master of horror himself, John Carpenter. And his incredible fucking film that people don't talk about enough, Prince of Darkness. Now, this got a lot of praise in the last few years. It's one that I had heard of it. I actually bought the DVD of this in GameStop years ago. I used to buy a fuckload of DVDs in GameStop for £2 each. Or I think they were €2 and 2 for the price of 1 or something. I used to get a fuckload of them. And I got Prince of Darkness, and when I opened it, The Sentinel was in the box. Not the horror film either, the one with fucking Michael Douglas in it. So I was like, what the fuck? And I brought it back and they're like, oh yeah, we just don't have that movie. I found the Sentinel box in there, and guess what was in that? The Sentinel. So I don't know where the fuck that one went or came from. I kind of forgot about the movie then for a long time, and then this showed at Horathon in a double bill with Body Snatchers, the Abel Ferrara cover remake, Jesus. And I was shit-faced when I watched it, but I remember thinking this was fucking good. I'm really in bits and I want to watch it again. And then I watched it again a couple of months later and it blew my mind. It's fucking phenomenal, and people don't talk about it enough. It's probably one of his most downbeat horrors, to be honest. There's the film and special features. As far as I know, the transfer on this is class. They did a few John Carpenter films, Studio Canal did, and I think this, They Live and Escape from New York all look great, but The Fog apparently looks like shit, and the best version of that would be to get the Studio Canal one, but I don't know, there'll probably be another 4K down the line. But really glad this is getting the attention it deserves now. It is phenomenal. So atmospheric, so weird, and among those movies that just feels genuinely evil. And there's just some amazing imagery in it, and I think more people should see this one. It's really, really unnerving, and great music in it too. Keeping the Carpenter train going with these exact editions I was talking about is They Live. Now I know there is 4K versions of all these, but they're fairly pricey, and as far as I know, as savage as they look, I mean, they look savage on Blu-ray as well. Even some of them I had heard, maybe it's this, that the Blu-ray looks better than the 4K. So, I don't know. In general, I think a 4K transfer in 1080p looks phenomenal anyway. But, I mean, if it's a movie that's going from an old 1080p transfer to a new total 4K transfer, I'm going for that 4K for sure. But sometimes the difference isn't massive with these. I mean, obviously you got the HDR settings, but even still. This one's tremendous. I actually don't really like the art on all these, by the way. I'd like to print off my own art or have the original artwork for all of them, because I'm not mad on these artworks. This movie's fucking phenomenal, and a lot of people kind of reference it these days in terms of like government corruption and manipulation and all sorts, because this one really kind of openly talked about that stuff, but it's disguised as a monster movie with aliens, so people just like, yeah, that's daft. But there's a lot being said for this movie, and it is tremendously fucking good fun, very action packed. And has probably one of the most iconic fight scenes ever. Everyone talks about it because, I mean, it's Rowdy Roddy Piper again, loaded with extras and the film. Rowdy Roddy Piper have choreographed a scene with Keith David. The two of them pretty much made it up as they went along, but were like, alright, I know how to do this move, let me do it on you. Like, okay. And they just made this really heavy slugfest, and it's great fun. And it's a very unique, good fun movie. One of Carpenter's more upbeat films. Now this is the one I talked about earlier that isn't really a horror film, but I wanted to talk about it because it's part of the Studio Canal collection. Escape from New York, a movie which I fucking love as well. I don't love Escape from LA. It's crap. I mean, it's somehow watchable, but it's shite as well. This is the 4K though. The only reason I got this, I was initially going to buy the Blu-ray because they were all going for like fucking $6.99, but the good old Joe from the Lazy Dads, he got the ultimate special edition of this, a big fat box on it. I think it has a booklet and a soundtrack and all kinds of stuff, and another disc and all sorts of shit. But he had this initially, so this was just sitting there, and he said, "You know what, Kev, you're the soundest person in the whole world. Why don't you have it?" I said, "Thank you very much, Joe. You're also quite sound, and thank you for giving this to me." That's verbatim what was said. But yeah, I'm glad to actually have the 4K of this as well. Like I said, I was picking up the DVD or the Blu-ray eventually, but this fell on my lap. So you have the extras, the Blu-ray, and the 4K here. And I'm really looking forward to watching it, because as I said, these are all brand new restorations, so I'm actually dying to see how they look. I am going to pick up the Fog eventually, and I will judge it when I see it, but I think the Fog's another one where, even though the transfer is not great, the Blu-ray actually looks better than the 4K. So I don't know what they did to fuck that up. It's a strange one. Maybe, I don't know if these were overseen by John Carpenter, but I don't know what they did to fuck it up. Again, I'd like to see it for myself and see, but as far as I know, the Scream Factory one is the best one to get. But this is a beauty as well. And the rest of the horrors coming up, we have another John Carpenter one that I haven't seen, but this was gone for £5. I'd wanted to see it for ages, and I don't know, see, John Carpenter's weird. There's actually a crack in the box. I remember that when I got it. I was going to fucking complain about that. I never did. Shit. Still time. I forgot what I was saying now. Oh yeah, it's one I've been meaning to see for ages, and I just had it in my head that, I mean, after seeing fucking Ghosts of Mars, and like, I like vampires, but his 90s output's different. It's an odd output. And this one I had been avoiding for a while, but I'd seen clips from it recently, and it looked fucking deadly. It looked really atmospheric and strange. I can't imagine it's up there with his best, but it looks like it could be pretty cool. I like that they have a back image there too. It's pretty rare with these lads. But yeah, I mean, for a fucking £5 to add it to the John Carpenter collection, and the potential for it to be good, I'm all in. And I just love the atmosphere of it. And I haven't watched the original. It's one I do want to watch it eventually, but someday in the future. The next is another one that had a big 4K special edition, but I just got the Blu-ray because it was dirt cheap. Is Don't Look Now, the Nicholas Roeg film. Nicholas Roeg was a strange one, because I've seen 2 of his movies, I'm pretty sure, in full. One I don't remember well. I remember it being really odd. The other was so odd and had so many amazing bits, but so many bits I was like, this is really just a shit show. And that was Eureka. The other one I saw was Performance. He's a strange one, and I have a lot of his movies, and something about him I'm totally drawn to him. I have The Man Who Fell to Earth upstairs, the vintage classics one, and I have Bad Timing, and there are all these movies that I really want to watch and enjoy, but I'm still not sure what to make of him. But this is one that is considered to be his masterpiece, so I want to watch this again, or I want to watch this. I've never seen it. I only know bits of it, and unfortunately I know the ending because it was just spoiled forever in magazines and whatever the fuck. But I really want to fucking just see how this goes for me. It was cheap. I love Donald Sutherland anyway. Visually, it's meant to be an amazing transfer as well. Again, loaded with extras and the bonus features, and the main feature. And I don't know. It's just one that I really want to fucking see, and it feels like it's worth picking up, because if I get what I think I'm going to get out of it, which is not in the box anymore, then it'll have been a worthwhile purchase. But this is one, again, they had an edition. It was like £35, and it had fucking soundtrack, and also I don't like that shit. I'm going to have to try and remove that, but it'll probably tear the box. Very annoying. But it has like soundtrack book and all this stuff, and I'm just like, okay, I'll see how this goes. I have high hopes for it, and apparently, yeah, it's more of a drama film, but there's horror elements to it as well. It's going to be very psychological. This one was going dirt cheap, and I fucking thought it was a blast in the cinema. That is Overlord. It was the opening film at Horathon in, I think, 2017 or 18, and it's naff, but it's gory, underground Nazi lab set in World War II. Like, all that shit just speaks to me. I fucking love World War II movies as is. And this one was just quite fun. It got the look of the movies right. It was pretty bloody in parts, some decent special effects, and I just thought it was great fun. And the fact that the 4K was going for, I think I got this for €8 or £8. That's a fucking bargain, so I had to pick that up. And I've been looking forward to watching it again, because I enjoyed it. It's dumb, fairly predictable, over the top, but a lot of fun. And I think that's literally all you can ask for sometimes. This is another Vintage Classics one that I got from Studio Canal. Actually, most of these are Studio Canal now that I look at it. It's one called Fright, and I think this is a British horror film from the late 60s or 70s. I can't remember which. I think it's the late 60s. Oh, 71, so just as about. And apparently it's a fairly bleak, gritty, again, bordering on drama, horror film. And I had it recommended to me ages ago, and then I saw it gone cheap, so I said, fuck it, I'm going to pick that up. I really enjoy British films from all eras, really, but the 60s, 70s British films tend to be fucking really good, so very much looking forward to this one. That was going to be watched during my horror viewing, but I just never got around to it. I think it arrived actually in the last week, and I just thought, I'll get to it, and then the horror-thon happened. It was a weird one this year. I'm looking forward to next year when I can fucking settle down and watch more. But that was cool. What is next? This is also Studio Canal. Saint Maud. This is one that came out in 2020. I think I saw it this year though. Pretty sure I saw it. Maybe it was this year it came out. Oh no, I think it was 2020 actually. Yeah. But again, this one, it reminded me of The Living and Dead. That one that... What's his face who made it? I probably won't remember his name now on the spot, and I don't want to stay here fucking thinking about it all day. But the guy who made that film has a similar idea. Not even really, actually, it just has a similar atmosphere. But this one was a seriously psychological fucking horror film, and she is just absolutely phenomenal. I think that's her name, Morphy Clark. I'll probably pronounce that wrong as well, but there was two women in it, I can't remember whose name is who, but she puts in a serious performance, like really fucking, she probably needed a bit of therapy after doing her performance, I'd say, which doesn't oversell it either, because she's not doing crazy shit all the time, it's just more the mindset she probably had to get into to do a lot of this shit, and just, she looks like she's about to snap at every moment in this fucking movie. I thought it was very, very impressive, and great ending as well, just a great atmosphere all the way through it, and I think Rose Glass has a seriously good career ahead of her if this is her, I think it's her debut. But not much like it out there. Would highly recommend it. Really hope more of the sort comes out from Rose Glass and Morphy Clark. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, I don't know how to fucking pronounce names. It's, again, horror is another strong word for it. It's more of a psychological drama thriller. There is horror elements, of course, but horror these days, all these cunts who say things like post-horror, not a real thing, but a lot of horror nowadays tends to be going for psychological drama that has horror elements in it. It's kind of rare you see something that pushes for straight up kind of horror. Again, that's probably why fucking Overlord was so much fun. And lastly, this is one that I feel like is going to end up with a really nice special edition, probably from fucking Second Sight or someone, but and this Blu-ray has been out for probably over a decade. I remember seeing it in HMV before it shot, and I never picked it up. I only watched it maybe a decade ago as well. But finally, I saw it going cheap on Amazon. I said, fuck it, I'm going to grab that straight away. And that is The House of the Devil. This one fucking blew me away when I watched it. I just absolutely adored it. Because this was before every fucking movie coming out wanted to pretend to be a 70s or 80s horror film. Where, right, it's not just that it's set there, but they're doing all the same beats as those movies. They're trying to have the same music, same atmosphere. Hey, kids on a bike kind of thing. This, even though I think it's set in the early 80s, this captures a very 70s horror atmosphere, as far as I'm concerned. Shot on film, I think it was 16mm, blown up to 35. Really slow, methodical cinematography. The same atmosphere, the fonts and everything, just everything in it just looked so legit. And it was so legit, back in the day, that I think it was Total Film or Empire, the two main movie magazines that used to fight each other back in the day. They had an exclusive collection of some 80s and 90s and 70s horror films. The likes of The Evil Dead and The Exorcist and The Shining, and they're all on VHS, and this was number 10 in that little collection. They actually released this on VHS as if, like, here's a classic VHS you never heard of. And it's just so fucking authentic. And it was directed by Ty West, and there's a decent amount of extras on it as well. I was really impressed with it when I watched it. It does have its flaws, for sure. But it was one of the earliest movies I reviewed when I first started doing these things. This is going back to like 2012 or something. Maybe 2011. I thought it was fucking really good. And very effective. The problem is, Ty West has just gone on to do shite since. He's just never lived up to it. The one he followed this up with, The Innkeepers, had one really effective moment. But everything after that was actually just fairly naff. I just don't think he's he's reached those heights anymore. But this is one to definitely fucking check out if you get a chance. So, they're all my horror viewings. I hope you see some of them. If you haven't seen any of them, check them out. If you have seen them, let me know what you think of them. And there'll be lots more coming. So, thanks for watching.